Today's daf is daf tzaddik, and we are talking about the different size of the vessels. Now, of the measuring cups. We have dry goods and we have liquids. So the names of the measurings, some of them overlap, and some of them are a little bit different. So we're going to notice that one size is missing on the dry side, and one size is missing on the liquid side, and we want to know why. So the Gemara starts in that pay test, Amid Bays, on the bottom, very bottom of the page, in the middle of the brisa. We already said you shouldn't keep in your house any scales or weights or measure cups that are inaccurate. So now the brisa continues 2 lines from the bottom. Aval oisa, what you should have in your house is the following. Saw is the measure of 6 kavin. Then another, that's one measure. A measure that can measure 6 kavin of dry goods. Then you have tarkev. Tarkev is made up of 2 words, trei, kav. 2 kavin plus 1 kav. In other words, 3 kavin. So you have a measure for 6 kavin, which is a saw. You have a measure for 3 kavin, half of that. And then you have another measure, half of that. The chatzi tarkev, which is 1.5 kavin. Then you have a kav. Then you have a chatzi kav. Every kav has 4 loigin. Okay, a saw has 6 kavin, and each kav has 4 loigin. That means a saw has 24 loigin. Each loig has 6 eggs. That's a quantity. So a kav, it has 4 loigin. So the next, from 2 kavin we go down to 1 kav. So we did 3 kavin, and then we did 1.5. What's missing is 2 kavin. Why don't we have a 2 kavin measure? That's what we're going to talk about later. The chatzi kav, you have a half a kav. Then you have a quarter of a kav. A quarter of a kav is 1 loig. There are 4 loigin in a kav. Then you have a taimin, which is an eighth of a kav, which is a half of a loig. A half of a loig. Remember that a loig has 6 eggs, so that's the equivalent of 3 eggs, a half of a loig. Then you have chatzi taimin, half of that. So if 3 eggs is an eighth of a kav, a taimin, then the chatzi taimin is 1.5 eggs. And then you have an oichla. An oichla, the Gemara says, kami oichla, what measure is that? Echad mechamesha berevia. A fifth of a revia, basically means a revia, which is 1 loig, right? A revia is, this is a loig, because a kav is made up of 4 loigin, so a quarter of a kav is 1 loig, and this is a fifth of that, which means 1.5 eggs. So we went down from 1.5 eggs to 1.5 eggs. Okay, remember that, because we're going to come back to that. Now, that's in dry measures. Uvemidas halach, when it comes to liquids, this is what you have. You have a hin. Instead of a saw is a dry good measure, we have a hin. A hin is 12 loigin. In the Torah, Council, it talks about the libations you make, it refers to it as hin. A half a hin, a third of a hin, a quarter of a hin. So, Aisha makes a hin. A hin is 12 loigin. The chatzi hin, then the next measuring is a cup, is a 6 loigin cup, half a hin. The next one is a shlish is a hin. That's a third of that's 4 loigin. The next one, the V, is a quarter of a hin, which is 3 loigin. The next one is the loig. You have the next one is from 3 loigin, we jump down to 1 loig. This is not 2 loigin. Sorry? No, the loig, a full loig. Then you have a chatzi loig. Then you go down from there to a half a loig. Then you go down to the revius. Whenever we say that you have to drink a revius, it's a revius of 1 loig. That's what you have to drink. Now remember, a loig is 6 eggs, so the revius of 1 loig is the size of 1.5 eggs. That's what a revius is. Okay, which we say is 86 grams, according to Chaim No. And then you have a shminis. You have an eighth of a loig. Okay, so you have an eighth of a loig. And then you have echad mishmoiner shebishminis. And then you have a 64th of a loig, which is minuscule. Whenever you say, if you have a mikveh that's 40 saw, and it's missing a kurtov, that's a 64th of a loig, which is minuscule. And l'chayda, the word is as follows. It says in the Gemara that a person, a Talmud Chacham, should have a shmini shebeshmini shebegaiva. What's the cheshbon of 64? So the Vilna says it means the 8th parsha in the Torah and the 8th pasuk, which is what Yaakov declared. That means at the end of the day, you should always be humble. But l'chayda, maybe. The idea of a 64th is because a mikveh, the whole idea of a mikveh, as the Rambam explains, is to be bottled. You become one with the water. You submerge in the water, you become one with the water. That's what it is. And we're saying over here is that the most minuscule amount that we say you no longer consider bottle is a 64th of a loin. So we say when it comes to gaiva Talmud Chacham, or if he needs to stand up for Torah, the maximum the gaiva that she have is what takes it out of total bittul to not total bittul, which is the karta, the 64th of a loin. Anyway, this is just even the better. Okay, let's go. Says the Gemara, so how come we missed out before we had 3 kavim and 1? We missed out and 1.5. What about 2? When it says, if we're going to allow a measure of 2 kavim, people are not so, the average person is not such an expert. So you're going to say, I'm selling you 3 kavim, but you're going to use a measuring cup that's only 2 kavim, and the buyer won't even know the difference. That discrepancy will make a mistake. A third. Almato inchi tilsa means people make a mistake. A third of this quantity. So if so, is kav nami loy lavid. How can you make a kav? The osil lachlufe bechatzi tarkiv. Because what happens after tarkiv is 3, and then we say the next one is 1.5. How can you then go ahead and have 1 kav if you can allow him to have a measured cup of 1 kav, which is a third less than 1.5? He's going to tell somebody, oh, I'm using the 1.5. This is 1.5 kavim, but he'll use a measuring cup of 1 kav. If people make that mistake of a third, then why this third we won't allow, but this third doesn't bother us? And look, you're right. People don't. Third is substantial, and people will recognize that this is not the shear that I ordered. So why Taka doesn't mention 2 kavim? So not we are worried 2 kavim to 3 kavim that'll cheat. It'll say this is 3 kavim when it's 2, but we're worried. He will say to somebody, I'm selling you now 2 kavim, but I'll actually use the measure of the 1.5. And that the discrepancy is less than a third. It's a quarter. So we say, okay, so what are you telling me? People don't make a mistake when it comes to a difference of a third, what they ordered and what they're getting. But a quarter, they can make a mistake. So let me ask you a question. Chatzi tumen, we said before, was 1.5 eggs. A nuchla is 1.5 eggs. That's a quarter difference is loy landed because you'll tell people I'm selling you 1.5 eggs. We're actually going to use a measuring cup of the uchla, which is 1.25 eggs. But people such a small amount, they'll make a mistake. And you could cheat. We don't want to we're giving them the tools to cheat. People with such small measures, if they're asking for 1.5 eggs, that means they're very pedantic. They know for their recipe that they're going to bake now, they need exactly this, and they'll know what's too much. So okay. What about shlishi sahin and the revi'ah sahin? A third of a hin is what? 4 login. A quarter of a hin is 3 login. That's a quarter difference. And you said people make a mistake of a quarter. How can you allow him to have a tool of a 3 login thing? He'll tell somebody I'm selling you a 4 login, and actually he's selling you a 3 login. And this is not small quantities; they're bigger, so people are not so familiar. You said a quarter make it. And what it says, Kivan the Havi b'migdash, because in the base of Migdash, this is the Nesachim, the libations, these are the measures they use. So we decided that even outside the base of Migdash, we're not going to tamper with it. That doesn't help us. In the base of Migdash, also you should be geyser. So Kohen know what they're doing, they don't make mistakes. So there's not a question of cheating, maybe mistakes, we're not worried. Shmuel comes like Shmuel and says, al hamidas. He says, if let's say the community decides, you know what, we're going to change, just like over here, we changed the metric system from miles, we went to meters and so on. If they decide to change the measuring cups, that these measuring cups, we're going to give you new, that a pint is not, or a kilo is not this, a pound is not this. A pound will be not 16 ounces, but 20 ounces. And a kilo won't be, won't be 1,000 grams, it'll be 1,500 grams. The community can do whatever they want. The country can do whatever they want. So he says, you're not allowed to add to the midas, you're not allowed to add more than a sixth. Now, you remember in the laws of cheating, that if it's less than a sixth, then, that's normal. If it's exactly a sixth, you have to reimburse the money. And if it's more than a sixth, the whole deal falls off. So if somebody comes into town and he doesn't know that you changed the measure, and the guy says, "Okay, sell me a kilo of whatever it is you bring into town to sell." So he sells, well, a kilo is $25, and then the guy brings from the local measuring cup. Suddenly, you're not selling him a kilo. In your cheshbon, this is a kilo and more than a sixth. More than a sixth comes out that all these deals that you guys are doing are worthless because it's more than a sixth. People don't know. So therefore, you make it no more than a sixth. And if it's no more than a sixth, the deal always still remains. The fact the guy's losing money, he thinks he's making a profit. Turns out to be he's making nothing because he bought it. He's selling. He's thinking he's selling a kilo. He's allowed to make a profit up to a six, and he thinks that he's making profit. And in the end, he's not making any profit because he has to give that person the quantity that includes his six profit. We'll see in a minute later. The same thing as a coin. If you want to increase the value of a coin, you cannot increase more than a sixth again. Because the guy thinks, or you can't do that because the guy thinks he's getting one value, turns to be another value. So and if you want to make profit, don't make profit more than a sixth of the laws of Eino. Says the Gemara, let's go analyze what Shmuel said. My time eat what's the reason? Is it because he is more expensive? Then shtus not be like. Even the part is that we are worried that he's going to be too expensive. What do you call it? Is shtus also you shouldn't allow him to do it. If you're worried that he's going to bring two over here, and he sees the prices went up, and the reason why the price went up is because you're getting more. But he doesn't know that, so he increases the prices for his measures. He comes from out of town, and over there a kilo is X amount of dollars. Comes to this town, a kilo is Y dollars because a kilo is bigger. It's bigger than what over there is. So he's going to increase his prices for his size, which is not right. So if so, then also you have to give the money back. It's not still not permitted. He said the reason is these are the laws of a no. Okay, you can haggle and everything else and maybe get back his money, but at least the deal, otherwise he'll come in and make a whole bunch of sales thinking he had a good day. Finds at the end of the day that every sale of his is unraveled because he was is more than a shtus. Right? First of all, if we're talking about measures, the whole din of a no is you got what you asked for. Question is price. I overcharge you or undercharge you. Here the problem is I have to give you more because I think a kilo is this, and your kilo is something. A liter is this, and your liters are different. So it's a question of measure, and we learned in a number of places. Didn't the Rava say, "Kol dover anything shebemida or b'mishkol b'minyan, anything which to do with sizes"? I feel pocket in our chayzer. There it's a mekatos. The big machlek is showing him how to understand this halacha. Doesn't mean that that even a mashu the deal unraveled because I didn't get what I want. I didn't get what I ordered. Or the pshat is that usually by a no we say that only more than a six, that only a six you get your money back. Over here, what happens is that even a mashu, you got to give him back the money that he overcharged him because you gave him less than he thought he's getting. But the deal still remains a deal. This one here, they want to learn as it sounds like the whole thing will fall apart. Ella, the main reason is we want to make sure that there's that we shouldn't do more than a sixth. So, and since every person puts up a profit of a sixth, he's not losing any money. Whatever he paid for, at least he's getting his money back. Profit, that's not considered a loss. Zovin v'zabin, famous Gemara. Zovin, if you buy something for $1 and you turn around and you sell it for $1. That's called a business. What kind of business is that? If you sell it for the same price you bought it, what kind of business is that? Shmuel said the reason, nothing to do with any of these reasons. The reason why you're not allowed to add more than a sixth is because of a pasuk that he found. What about people coming in, all these Rishima gave? We're not so worried about it. It doesn't happen that often that they come in and blind, they have no idea what's going on, and therefore we're not really worried about it, but rather it's exeris hakashus, that you're not allowed to add more than a sixth, as we'll see. Now, even though the pasuk just talks about a sixth, adding a sixth, we're going to say you're not allowed to add more than a sixth because that's already svarah. The mekach falls apart. But a sixth you're allowed to, And even though it's very uncommon, but still, why put people in this situation? But adding a six, why are you allowed to? Because the pasuk is finished, you're allowed to. And what about worried about people? It hardly happens. And you have a pasuk is allowed to. What's a pasuk? It says over there. Says a shekel. Usually a shekel is like esim gator. Esim, a seller is 25 shkolim. So esim shkolim. This says it that you are going to bring there in the future there. You're going to bring a shekel, you're going to bring 20, he tells you first the value of a shekel, which is 20 gator. Then he says, esim shkolim, and then you bring 20 shkolim, then you bring chamisha esim shkolim, 25 shkolim, and then asara v'chamisha shekel. So what do you have here total is, you have 20, and then you have 25, or 45, and then 15 and 60. So normally, and that's no, but everything in the future base of English should be double the first base of English. The first base of English is a seller. Now it's two slaves. But you're saying here that it's 60 shkolim. A seller normally is 25. Two slaves should be 50. But you went from 50 to 60. You're saying that if you add up all these shkolim, you come out, you give me 60. So we've done an increase for a seller from 25 to 30, and that increase is considered a sixth. Is a sixth. How is that a sixth? Because you remember how we in mathematics in the Gemara, it's always milab rather than milgav. Type of fifth. If you count from 25, it's a fifth. You added 5. But if you add it on and then you work out how much it is, you add it on, becomes 30. And then you say, so how much is it? It's a sixth. Like how many 5 go to 30 is 6. Hamana yilachem. Mana. So Gemara says mana. And you tell me a mana masa v'arba is a masa 240. 200 is 4. There's 4 mana in each shekel, which means 60 comes 240. He says, what is a mana 240? A mana is 100 usually. So the mana is 100. Okay, double would be 200. How do you get 240? The shmamna class. You learn from this passage 3 things. Shmamna mana shall kaidish kafel haya. That a mana there is double, so it's not 100 but 200. Shmamna masifin ala midas. You add whatever chayil by the base midas will be more. And being masifin yaitsim mishtus. So 25 became 30, and then you double that at 60. Shkol now. And shmamna shtusim mudbar. How do you calculate mudbar? And that's how you say that 5 is considered a sixth. Now Papa Bashmol. Talking Kaila, he went ahead and he made a measuring cup, Bartlosa Kfizi. And he made a measuring cup that is 3 Kfizi, it's 9 loygen. Every cup Kfiz is a cup is 4 loygen, a Kfiz is 3 loygen. And he made a cup that has 3 Kfizes. So in other words, 9 loygen, a big one. And we had before measure, the closest measure we had was, let's say, 3. We had 3 kavin, and half of 3 kavin is, let's say, 1.5 kavin, and 1.5 kavin is the equivalent of 6 legin, and you decide to make a measure 9 legin. That's almost a 50% increase. It's a third more. And we said before that the maximum you can increase from the measuring cups that exist is a 6th. I'm not increasing one of the other measures and then you tell me not allowed to add more. I'm making a brand new measure for our city. A brand new measure. Says the Gemara. So therefore, what are you worried about? That people come out of town, they're going to do the wrong thing? No, they'll hear a name called, they call what's the name of it? Kfizi. They're going to ask, what in the world is Kfizi? And they'll be told what it is, so nobody's going to be cheated. Because they don't. The problem was that you took a measure that exists, universal, and same name, and you played around with it. But here, and we're worried people are going to lose money. You up to 6, and that's tolerable. But here it's a brand new cup, and nobody's going to worry about it. Says the Gemara. Charlotte Pumbedisa la Kiblu. They said the Pumbedisa they refused to accept it because they're worried all kinds of problems will happen. But Charlotte Papana and the Kiblu and the Makabla, and they called it the Roy's Papa. Papa's cup, Papa's measuring cup. And this way, they all knew that there's no mistake. It's something brand new. He brings a Pashat and Raja the Shabbos, the secret of Papa, or the advice of Papa. Simon Eitze Peter and Eitze might see him stuck in Pommy Baby and Pommy Bay and the same below. But say, second one back. Thought about learned. Eitze Peter is those people that hoard payers. No, but they corner the market. Like the Hunt brothers who corner the market when it came to silver. They buy up all the available fruits, and they wait till whatever is out there sells out, and then they're the only ones who have it. They have a monopoly, and then they can charge whatever they want to charge. They gouge people. I'd say pay this. If somebody does that, is a Russian. And those who lend the ribis, you're hurting who borrows? People who need money. So you're hurting them. Maktina Efa, and those people who sell, they say they're selling you a pound and it's really less than a pound. They're selling less than the measure that they're saying. And they increase the prices, the going price is X and they make it a higher price. There's a description about them. That these people, terrible people, are walking about, they're constantly scheming. Lema, they say, oh, it must say Yavar HaChodesh. When will the Chodesh end already? When Ashbira Shevet, that all the stuff out there will be sold. And then we can put our stuff on the market and make a fortune. And then Hashabbos, and let's say when will Shemitah come? When nobody's planting, and then we're going to we'll be the only one who have so much stock available, and we'll make a fortune. So that is the terrible thing. Or lahaktin efa, the pasuk continues saying, or they're going to sell less than what the measure officially is. Or lahagdil shekel, or they are going to charge interest. They lend a shekel, but they get paid back more than a shekel. And then it says pasuk, they have trickery, they have false weights and scales. And it says afterwards, it says that Nishba Hashem B'Gen Yaakov, the Abishah swears in himself, Im Eshkach Lo Netzer, will I ever forget forever Kol Ma'aseh, these terrible acts. So let's give me an example of an Oitzepeda where they deliberately corner the market so they can turn around and sell it to the public, which a lot of people are poor, and gouge them to go. Give me an example of somebody. To go in Shapsi Otzepeda, for example, like Shapsi, the one who used to gather the payers together. I'm not sure exactly why the Gemara wants to know a name. It was so hard to understand the marshal a dogma that you need to know exactly who it is, because we're going to see soon, maybe, that sometimes you're allowed to do that. If your intention is you want to protect the poor, and that when the stocks dwindle, everybody's going to start raising their prices, or that when there's a busy season, everybody's going to raise the prices. So you're hoarding right now, so that you're going to dump it on the market then, so to bring the prices right back down. So even though you're a hoarder, but you're doing it with good intentions. So even though it might have caused even the price to go up a little bit, but not as much as what will go up later on its own without you, and then you'll drop the market. So you're saying, no, that's not the kind of person we're talking about. It's only someone like Shapsi who did it purely to make a profit. He didn't do it to benefit anyone. Now the Gemara says, Avu de Shmuel's father, Maz bin Luhula Pede Betara Karfa, he started to dump the market as soon as the season started, before the prices skyrocketed, when it was plenty, and Kitara Karfa, and he put it at a cheap price. Because he had so much and he put it at a cheap price, the prices never had a chance to rise. So he saved everybody. Shmuel's son, also wanted to help the market out. So what he did was, Mashi Leped, he hoarded. He cornered the market, and he waited till later on in the season when there was much less fruit, or the end of the season when the price started going up. Then he dumped it the earlier prices. So who did it better? Who was smarter? They sent from there that the father was smarter than the son, or he helped out. Sorry, he benefited the community better than the son. My time. Once the price goes up, it's not so easy to get it down. And you get down a little bit down, not all the way down to where it should be. So Shmuel's father made sure the price never went up in the first place. You, after the price went up, you tried to force him to go down. So it didn't always work. Well, not everybody went down as much as you did. Amar Rav says, but your own, if you have your own little hobby farm, you can do whatever you want. If you want to hold it in your warehouse and not sell it to whatever you want to, that you can. That's not called price gouging. That's my own. I can do whatever I want with my own cheder. That's what we learned. We're not allowed. When we say I'll be oitzepayers, we're talking about dvorim sheyesh behem, dvorim sheyesh ben chayin nefesh, things which are essentials: yenos, wine, shman, and oil, the salsas and flour. Avotavlim, because these are essentials. Then you're not allowed to price gouge. But things which are luxury items, tavlin, spices, kimon, cumin, pumpkin, and peppercorns, mutter. They are permitted because they're not a necessity. If they're not a necessity and you want to make higher prices, it's not the end of the world. People can live without them. Just boycott it. We have stories of Henry Laban, especially in Hungary. They used to boycott fish, which were essentials. But Yom Tov and Shabbos was a mitzvah if their prices were too high. We even had the Mer Psachim, the Flamet. Rav said, if you guys don't do this and this, you're going to, after Pesach, they would increase the prices of all the pots and pans. I'm going to ask them that you can use it in a certain way. So, you do have to try to stop people from price counting. Remember, like if you bargain in the street, but in my own house, even essentials, mutter. Let's pay them at Gimel Shanim. In Yisrael, you're allowed to sometimes hoard when you know that you're not going to plant. Erev Shviz, because you're not going to grow anything. Erev Shviz, and Motzai Shviz, it takes the end of the year before you get the new crop. But when there's a famine, I feel the kav charuvin layetzi. You're not allowed to hoard anything. Because even if you mean well and you're doing it for yourself, the fact is, because you're limiting the market, prices just skyrocket. And once it skyrockets, there's no controls. There's nothing to stop. And it's contagious as well. Other things go flying. We saw what inflation does over there. Everything went flying. Some of the things had to go up because of logistics, and some of them didn't. But they decide, you know what? If everything going up, we'll take everything up. That's the problem the world had in the last 2-3 years. Puga Shemaya, it's a Shamash, whose name was Puga. Puk, utterly paid I want you to go ahead there now, start storing fruits for 3 years. And Shviz, someone say Shviz. And Shviz Shviz as well. Tanabami learned, Ein might see and pay this marriage Yisrael. You're not allowed to export fruits for Eretz Yisrael. The vodim sheyesh ben chayin nefesh, things which are essential. You go in yenes, wine, shmanim, oil, the salsas, and flour. Rabbi Yehuda ben Pseida, matid b'yayin. Interesting. He said, wine you can export. We don't want it, let's just throw. People get drunk, inebriated, and the less alcohol we have in the throw, the better it is. But we just have enough for Yom Tovim that you need, because in Simcha Yisrael b'yayin, but stam, we don't want it around. Shame, she'ein might see in me'eretz l'chutz laretz. Just like now take out export me'eretz l'chutz laretz. Kach ein might see in me'eretz Yisrael l'Surya. Nor can you do it to Surya. Now Surya was the government conquered, but it's called a kibush yachid. Why is it called a kibush yachid? So the different Rishonim say different things. Rashi many places said because David Melech did not take it with 600,000 people. He did it on his own, and so therefore it's not considered a what do you call it? A kibush rabbin. Others say, Taisha says in other places, that because he did it before he finished conquering, so Yerushalayim itself didn't belong yet. So because he went out and he expanded the border of Israel before they get distributed to Israel itself, it has no din of Eretz Yisrael. However, if it's right bordering on Eretz Yisrael, next to a city of Yisrael, then those parts of Syria are considered like Eretz Yisrael. So obviously the famous question is, so how do they export Carmel wine, all these wines from Eretz Yisrael today? And oranges and a lot of food. So some want to say, maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow more. Some want to say they're lechatchila planted for exports. We're talking about over here that they're for Eretz Yisrael, and then you want to export some, so you can make more money there by hurting Eretz Yisrael. Here lechatchila was made to export Eretz Yisrael. Others say today it's enough for everybody. Yeah. But the first one is what the Chuvas used to write in the old days, because they're doing a concealed text in 1800s, the late 1800s, when they started doing all these, the Rothschilds settlements and all that. So they were asking all these shilas, what's allowed in Chuvas, but also these kind of things. And it was early days then. Okay, continue tomorrow in Mitzvah Shem.